Post-Dieselgate, VW has been on a mission to completely re-engineer their models here in the States. One area where the company said they would focus primarily on is electrification. This week, I'm testing the refreshed 2017 e-Golf, and although it's late to the party, does this new electric Golf have a place in the ever-growing EV field? That's what we're here to find out. The e-Golf is a pretty important vehicle for Volkswagen. This marks the first time we're seeing a full production electric-only vehicle for the company here in the US market. And even though it's been around since 2015, Volkswagen has given this car a pretty thorough refresh for 2017. And it's the first vehicle in the Golf family to get the new refreshed front end, interior, and rear design that you will see pretty soon on the 2018 Golf lineup. Now you can see the design of the e-Golf looks pretty much like every other Golf. The front end sports the all-new design language we saw again on the refresh model. You have LED headlights on my particular tester. The e-Golf has these unique C-shaped LED daytime running lights in the bumper, in addition to the LED daytime running lights that are actually in the headlight assembly. The headlights themselves look really nice. They swivel. There's an LED turn signal. They're LED high beams. They're full LED headlights, and they give this car a much more modern appearance, makes it look a lot more special versus the standard Golfs, which is just the projector halogen headlights that you get on the baser models. Now, dimensionally, the e-Golf hasn't changed in terms of size. This only comes as a four-door, and these special 16-inch wheels are aerodynamic, of course. They're only on the e-Golf, so that's another indication that you're going to get that you're driving around in an e-Golf if you guys go for this particular model. Now, the grille obviously doesn't need as much cooling as a gas engine, so Volkswagen was able to kind of close off the grille, improve the aerodynamics. My tester in this pure white color certainly looks like a very clean, inoffensive, handsome design. It doesn't really break too much ground, and it's very conservative, especially compared to all the other EVs that you look and find on the market. Now, at the rear, you have refreshed LED taillights that are standard across the board. My tester, being an SEL Premium, does have, you know, upgrades here and there, especially the headlights, where you do get those upgraded headlights versus the standard trim. And really, at the rear, the only indication that you're driving a special electric Golf is the fact that obviously there's no rear tailpipes, although VW tries to kind of create some fake ones with these chrome accents in the lower bumper. But I mean, overall, if you want an EV that doesn't look like a weird car, the Golf should really be at the top of your list, especially when you compare it to some of the very strange looking EVs that this vehicle is going to compete with. But enough about the exterior, which really honestly doesn't look very different from a Golf. Let's take a look at the inside and see all the changes that VW has made for this 2017 model year. When you first walk up to your e-Golf, you can see my tester has the company smart key access system with push button start and smart entry. Here's the traditional Volkswagen key with the switchblade design. I like the key. It's a sturdy key. Actually, I prefer this key over what I've showed you guys in the new Atlas and Tiguan. Now, when you walk up to the vehicle, it has a little ridge here, or indentation on the door handle. When you touch that, it locks the door for you. And then when you unlock it, there's a sensor on the back of the handle. Just touch the back of the handle, it unlocks the door for you. Now, looking at the inside of the 2017 e-Golf, you can see it's very familiar to, you know, all the rest of the Golf family, although VW did update this interior heavily for 2018. The seats are slightly updated. They're a little bit more aggressively bolstered. I'm surprised there's no contrasting stitching. My tester is the SEL Premium. It has these faux leatherette seats, the synthetic leather with kind of like a two-way power adjustment here for the backrest, and then a manual height, and then it's just manual to go forward and back. I kind of wish VW gave us an 8-way or 6-way power driver seat, to be honest, especially at this price point. Now, stepping inside the interior of the e-Golf, you can see it has that traditional step-in height you guys expect in this class. And then when you shut the door, it sounds nice and solid. This is the Mark 7 platform. It's a great platform, honestly. And VW basically just needed to make some updates to the interior in terms of the tech and the styling, and they've done that this year. Now, when you start the vehicle up, there's a button right here to push to turn on the engine on and all the electronics. Just put your foot on the brake and then push it here. Now, obviously, because this is an electric car, there's no starter noise. Instead, it just kind of turns on. All the electronics turns on. It'll say ready in the instrument panel. And then instead of attack on the left, you have this little charge display here, which basically shows you your percentage of power that you're using, all the way up to 10, which is 100%. And then when you're braking, it'll, you know, this needle will swing to the left to show you that you're charging the battery. And then down here, there's another little power availability display where it shows how much max power is available. As the battery drains, this needle here will move over to the left to show you that you don't have as much power. The display is okay. I highly recommend going for the Volkswagen digital cockpit display that you get with the driver assistance package that my tester doesn't have, where it kind of gives you that Audi-like virtual cockpit where it's an entire 12-inch display here. I kind of recommend going for that, especially considering this is the e-Golf with the tech features, or with all the updated tech. Now, interestingly, the speedometer here only goes up to 100 miles an hour. Volkswagen actually increased the top speed on this car from 85 to 93 miles per hour. It's the first electric car that I've seen with a traditional speedometer, so it's very traditional in here, which is unlike other electric cars. Now, coming over to the center stack, you can see here updated 8-inch display with the new, head unit here. It's a very nice looking display. As you can see, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is included. Now, let's talk a little bit about the materials in here. You can see the dashboard is all soft touch. Everything in here fits nicely. There's this silver painted plastic here accenting the dash. The door panels here are also soft touch, more of that plastic, and then there's an aluminum door handle. The windows are one touch automatic for all four, which is really nice, really unexpected feature, especially in this segment. The interior of this car is certainly class competitive. VW is really no longer the class leader in terms of quality. Which is kind of a shame, but this is pretty much what you expect from all the other, compact vehicles in this segment. The steering wheel has some nice blue stitching to show you that you're in the e-Golf. It's a flat bottom design, has lots of buttons on the wheel, but it's overall, pretty easy to use, and all the controls in here feel pretty nice. Now, let's talk a little bit about the display here, because it's the same head unit that I showed you guys in all the other VW products. When you go here, you can see all your different, sources are available. Obviously, when you go to the menu button here, you can see here there's radio, media, navigation, Apple CarPlay, vehicle. The system basically works like a tablet. It's very responsive, very quick. When you go to the Nav unit here, you can see this is just the updated version of Volkswagen's head unit, where you can see here it works pretty much like, an iPad, honestly. It's very responsive. I like how easy it is to use. I like how it has a proximity sensor. When you back away, a lot of these icons will go away, and then when you bring your hand back, they'll come back. And overall, the Nav display is okay. It's nothing really special, but again, it's kind of on par with everything else in the segment. Hitting the car display icon here, you can see, being an electric car, you want to see your range all the time, and Volkswagen gives that to you here with the range monitor. You can kind of go to the right here and show an energy flow. Recuperation, that's how well the vehicle is gathering the energy from its brakes. Really, I kind of have the screen on this all the time, and then you want to definitely have the range up here, which, to be honest, I'm surprised VW didn't give you a separate gauge for that. You kind of have to cycle through this little button here to get to all the menus. But I imagine the models with the digital cockpit display probably give you that. In a car like this, you definitely want that kind of feature to be showing all the time, because you really need to know how much range you have. There's a little traditional display here, like a gas needle, although it's been replaced to show the battery charge, which is, again, very traditional, very interesting. It reminds me that the Golf is basically a regular car, where they kind of had to convert to an electric car. Now, looking at the rest of the display here, going to your radio, obviously it has the the standard Volkswagen head unit here with the way it works. I really like the way the presets are displayed here. I like how the station's album art will also show up. Again, I like the proximity sensor here and there. I mean, overall, I really am impressed with this new head unit. It has all the features that I'm looking for. I like the way it looks here. It's a lot cleaner with a larger display, how it's glass here. It looks a lot better versus the pre-refreshed Golfs that I showed you with the older head unit. Now, down here you have dual zone automatic climate control. You have heated seats here, 3-way heated seats. No cooled seats are available. And then down here you have a place where you can kind of store your phone. I've got an iPhone 7 that fits perfectly. The Plus probably may actually be a little too big. Your USB and aux port is in there, and then you can kind of hide your phone in there. Very traditional shifter here. This controls a 1-speed reduction gear, being an electric car. It's got a traditional PR and D, and then B stands for engine braking. Come down here, it'll basically brake, do a lot of engine braking to help recuperate some energy. There's also a drive mode selector here. It cycles between a normal, Eco, and Eco Plus, which really makes the car feel a lot slower when you go into those modes, but it does add a few more miles of range, and it really helps to basically improve your economical driving. For the majority of my drive, I'll probably have it in normal. I'll switch it to eco a couple of times to show you guys how that works. There is parking sensors. My Tesla doesn't have the actual automatic parallel parking feature because it's missing the driver assistance package. There's an electronic parking brake here. You have your cup holders here with a nice sturdy lid, to cover it up. There's another 12-volt outlet there. Over here, the armrest slides forward and adjusts. It also has decent storage in there. The e-Golf is not available with a sunroof though, kind of a bummer. Some competitors offer it, but when you look over here, you have a nice glove compartment, which is damp. There's an SD card reader in there with your optical disc slot for your CD player, so it's cool that Volkswagen still kind of included that. But I mean, overall, the interior of the e-Golf, I love the updates VW made for the 2018 model. I think it'll really do well on other models. I highly recommend going for the driver assistance package though to get that digital cockpit display. Looking at the rear seats of the 2017 e-Golf, you can see VW didn't have to really, change the rear seat dimensionally for this model. The batteries live underneath the rear seat, so they've done a really good job with packaging the batteries, and there's like 700 pounds of batteries in this vehicle. But you can see here, legroom is pretty class competitive. When you get back here, there's a pretty good amount of space. I'm only 5'7". This is where I'd have the seat to drive, so again, you can see plenty of space. When you shut the door, it sounds nice and solid, just like the front. I like how VW also includes rear seat air vents. There's 2 map pockets here for some storage, but unfortunately the door panels are hard touch plastic, not like the nice stuff that you found in the front, although it is nice and padded right here where your elbows are going to rest, and then there's more storage underneath in this little door pocket with some nice carpeting right there to make it look a little bit nicer. The seats in the center here have a nice little armrest that folds down with some cup holders, and then the seats, they still fold down 60/40 to give you some versatility. Because this is based on the Mark 7 Golf, you can see here to charge the vehicle, it's actually in the same location as the gas nozzle on the gas model. When the vehicle's unlocked, you just have to push it there, it opens up. You can see here, there's basically your standard electric charging port. This is basically what you're going to charge the vehicle on the level 1 and level 2 outlets. You open this up if you guys wanted to use the quick charger level 3, where you can charge this vehicle up in like an hour or maybe less than an hour, where you get like an 80% charge. I like how it's back here, although some people have complained that they wish it was in the front, which means if you want to charge this vehicle in a public area, you have to back the car in. That doesn't bother me. I like backing the car in, but just know that some competitors put it in the front of the vehicle instead of the rear. Looking at the cargo space of the e-Golf, you can see it hasn't really changed versus the standard Golf, which is definitely a good thing. You're looking at around 22 cubic feet of space with the seats up. Fold down those rear seats, you get around 50 cubic feet of space, which is pretty class competitive. A little bit more than what you get in the Focus and the Mazda 3, a little bit less than what you get in the Civic hatchback. Now underneath here, you can see there's a little storage area where you can put the charger that this car comes with. This is the level 1 trickle charge, where it takes like about 20 hours to charge. VW says that it'll take about 6 hours to charge if you guys go for the level 2, which is what you'll find in most public stations, or the ones that you can have stored in your home. There is no spare tire underneath there. This car instead just comes with a fix-a-flat kit. Under the hood of the 2017 e-Golf, you can see there's actually a lot of room in here. This is my first time actually looking underneath the hood. Now, obviously what you're going to find instead of an engine, there's an electric motor with a lot of wires in here. What you're looking at essentially is an enlarged electric motor. The old 2016 model had like an 85 kilowatt electric motor. Now they've upped this to a 100 kilowatt electric motor. Now that probably doesn't mean much to you, but just know that now it makes 134 horsepower and 214 pound-feet of torque. That's up roughly 20 horsepower versus the old model, and it makes it more powerful than the Hyundai Ioniq that I last tested, the Ioniq Electric, and it's more powerful than the Ford Focus Electric. It's more powerful also than the 2017 Leaf, but the 2018 Leaf has a little bit more power than this, but that car obviously isn't available yet. I'll show you that when it does become available. Now, Volkswagen also enlarged the battery this year. It's now a 35.5 kilowatt hour battery, up from the 24.8 kilowatt hour battery. So now the company says this car will go about 125 miles on a full charge, which is much improved over the 85 miles that you got on the 2016 model. Now, MPGe, that's basically how fast this car uses energy, has also been improved. It's rated at 126 MPGe in the city, 111 on the highway, and 119 combined. That's pretty good. It's a little bit less than what Hyundai rated the Ioniq Electric, which I believe was like in the 120s, if I remember correctly. It all goes through that single-speed reduction gear through the front wheels, and this car is about 500 pounds heavier than a standard Golf. 0 to 60 times, the company says, has improved to like 9.5 seconds. Let's get out on the road and see how it all performs, shall we? My first time driving an electric Volkswagen, I have to say, This car puts a really good impression from the moment you step inside, from the moment you actually set foot in it. I mean, I really don't have too much to compare this to. I mean, I drove the Ioniq Electric a few months ago. A while back, I had, the old Leaf. Haven't driven the new one yet, obviously. I had a Focus Electric a few years ago. And really what's always limited these electric cars is the range. I mean, for 2017, VW did improve the range. Now it's at 125 miles. Actually, the car is at looks like 3/4 charge, and it's showing 124 miles of range. So at full charge, this car actually showed me the highest I saw was 149. So Volkswagen's actually being a little conservative on the range, which is not bad. 150 miles-ish, is not bad. Although it still trails, falls far short of the Bolt, which offers like 238. Even the new Tesla Model 3 will offer 215. However, when you first drive the Golf, it seriously just feels like a regular Golf. It's got, very traditional controls here. It's very quiet, of course, because there's no noise. But let me get out on this road here, and I'm going to show you one of the reasons what makes electric cars super fun. Now, the beauty about electric cars is how stealth they are. I mean, this thing doesn't make any noise, so of course when you floor it, aside from the little smidge of wheel spin, because this is front-wheel drive, it's got a lot of torque, you really don't hear anything but just some subtle electric motor whirring noises. Actually, this car makes a little bit more whirring noise than I'm used to versus some like the Ioniq EV that I drove. But you can see the torque is just instant. It just kind of pushes you back in the seat. And I never got a chance to drive the old model, with the less powerful engine, but I have to say, this thing is a riot. It's like pretty fast, and it's a lot of fun actually watching that needle kind of just go wink all the way over to the right when you're using 100% power. Now, of course, that kind of driving is not very efficient. So, I mean, I'm going to try to be a little bit more restrained with my right foot because I need to preserve the range. That's the thing with these electric cars, is there's always that range anxiety. I mean, when I see a triple-digit range, it makes me feel a little bit better. But really, I'd like to see like an over 200-mile range. That would give me the confidence to take these things on longer trips. But as you can see here, driving the e-Golf is really easy. The visibility in here is great. The steering is electric power steering. So it definitely has its moments where it feels really like numb. But, really, you're going to drive this thing and just come away very impressed. Seriously, I love that whirring noise. I mean, it's just dead silent in here. If you want a quiet car, you got to get behind the wheel of an electric car. These things are so quiet. Now, surprisingly, this thing doesn't have really that much power to, I guess, spin the tires from a stop when you're kind of in a straight line like the Ioniq did. But Volkswagen says this will get to 60 in around 9.6 seconds, which makes it about a second quicker than the old 2016 model with the less powerful electric motor. Now, that number sounds very slow. It feels a lot faster from behind the wheel. That's the beauty about electric cars. There's instant torque at 0 RPM. So as soon as you just touch the throttle, put your foot down, the torque just shoves you back in the seat, which is why, Teslas are so popular, because they have much stronger electric motors, they have much bigger battery capacity. And really, once the rest of the auto manufacturers can catch up, that's kind of where, we'll see more people buy these electric cars. But really, just driving the Golf regularly, as I said, the seats are comfortable. The ride quality is also very good. This car has a lot of weight in the rear suspension now because of those batteries, and it's just a very controlled, very smooth ride. It's super quiet. You hear a little bit of road noise, but it's not bad, honestly. And one thing I really like about this car, just like the Ioniq, it's got this recuperation mode in the transmission, where if you flick the gate here over to the left, it'll kind of go into 3 levels, 1, 2, or 3. It's just like the Ioniq, where I had those paddle shifters where you can kind of go into an engine braking. That helps to put energy, as you're just kind of coasting back into the battery. And it does a really good job of putting, giving you back some, miles of range when you guys are kind of on a downhill slope, for example. Of course, when you want to get out of the recuperation mode, just flick the shifter back over to the right. It'll go back into a 0 recuperation. Or you can also just kick the shifter back into a braking mode, where as soon as you let off the brake, it goes into a full regen, which again, it all helps to give you guys more range. And that's really what's important with these electric cars. And it's just a really cool car, to be honest, to drive. One thing I really appreciate about the Golf is how its conventional looks. I wasn't really a fan of some of the EVs that look very strange. The Ioniq was okay, although it looks a little too Prius-like. I really love the traditional look of this e-Golf. I love the hatchback body style. I love the driving dynamics. Now, it is sportier to drive than the Ioniq to me, although the steering is very numb, but it's just a very quick ratio steering. These eco tires don't really, encourage you to drive fast or to take corners quickly. Really, everything about this car, when you kind of go through the different, recuperation, range monitors, when it shows you even a blue score, this is the kind of car that kind of tries to encourage you to go a lot slower to try to save those range, those precious range, especially when you're driving a car like this. So I turned off the traction control there, and now it actually lets the front tires spin a good amount more, and it's a kind of a riot, honestly. No torque steer when you guys are really aggressive on the throttle, so you can have some fun with this e-Golf, but just know it's going to cost you some range. Now, I'm going to put the car's mode here into its Eco mode. Let's go to Eco Plus. Now, it even tells you that vehicle performance is very limited in Eco Plus. I'm going to also turn the stability control back on, which it actually doesn't let me do while you're moving, which is kind of stupid. Volkswagen kind of forces you to go into a setup here to turn off the stability control. There should be a separate button, but I don't see it here on the dash. But when it's in its Eco Pro mode, when I floor it, the car literally feels like there's a boat anchor that it's tugging. Actually, the engine or the electric motor has reduced power when it's in this mode to try to save you gas. It gives me like an additional 3 miles of range, which honestly, it's too slow for my taste. I just turned it off. Eco kind of gives you a little bit of a reduced power again, but again, you feel how much slower it is. When it's in normal, if you guys can just kind of control your right foot, it still gives you plenty of range, and it gives you that power that you need when you want to pass somebody. Now, my tester is missing that driver assistance tech package, so it doesn't have any kind of driver assistance. No blind spot monitoring, no automatic emergency braking, no adaptive cruise, no lane keep. I recommend going for that package. Honestly, Volkswagen needs to make it a standard on this SEL Premium. That's where the company kind of has a weak spot. They're not really giving you that driver assistance tech as standard like some of the other mainstream brands that tend to do that. Now, let's talk a little about the price of the e-Golf, because obviously this is going to be one of the more expensive, Golfs in the family. The Golf R is really the only thing that's more expensive. Now, this car starts at $30,500 for a base SE. There is like a limited edition model that's another $3,000 that gives you like upgraded, leatherette seats, upgraded sound, different trim here and there. That's around $33,500. My tester's the SEL Premium, which starts at $36,995. Now, keep in mind that price is before the federal tax credit, which is like $7,500, and then you need to look at your state that you're in. I think Maryland gives you like a $3,000 tax credit. California is like a $2,500 additional tax credit on top of that. So when you factor that in, this is a pretty good price after the tax credit, and it could be a really great alternative for you guys if you're looking for just a car that you can take you to and from work, with the occasional smaller trips here and there until VW improves the range to be over that 200-mile mark. But I mean, overall, after driving the e-Golf for a week, I'm pretty impressed with this car. It's probably one of my favorite EVs, although I haven't driven a lot of the new Teslas yet. But in terms of a mainstream EV, this is definitely one of my favorites. It's a car that feels normal, looks normal, doesn't look weird, gets pretty good real-world range, to be honest. And it gives you all the versatility that you expect from a Golf because of its four-door hatchback body style. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2017 Volkswagen e-Golf. If you're in the market for an electric car like this, make sure you put this one high up there on your electric car shopping list. If you're also looking to see those cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook. If you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.